StreamYard?
Hey, I don't think I can hear you. Wait.
No,
How
it
about?
says that. No, it says that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
So,
Okay. So, question. You were just asking. This is day one.
This
No job.
it's like cropped in. Got huge.
What?
It's like
Oh, the
cropped in.
sides.
Yeah, cropped in a lot. There we go.
You can do it like that.
Sure.
Get your green screen in
So
there.
I think you need to establish for yourself some sort of criteria, because it sounds like you're going to have 6 months.
Yeah.
What are the rules that you're going to play by, and what are you trying to do within that time frame? That's what I would do. Yeah.
I have 6 months to figure out what the hell I have 6 months to figure out what I'm doing with not working. Is that having a sustainable freelance business? And based on a podcast and some sort of like consulting that is built around like the topics of that. And so, this is one thought I've had, is to actually build a sort of visible brand around myself, around these topics, use that as a way to actually like bring in business and sort of develop credibility over time. But I don't think that is something that can happen in 6 months. There's just like a pin in that. I don't think that that's going to happen in just 6 months. I can start it now. I kicked up a meetup that I had done before the pandemic happened, like Brain Meets, as a way to bring some people together around these sorts of like domains within cognitive science and brain computer interface and speculation on all of that and everything. I kicked that back up in December and then did another one in January. And so I'm going to be trying to do more of those going forward. So that's like one thing. Another is maybe a newsletter around this stuff. I think just collecting together the different things that I find and come across in looking for research while going through this VR project that we've been working on, and looking at like emotional sort of research in how that environment sort of affects people in ways that we can leverage that. Like those are things, as well as meetups and local stuff, that could go into a sort of newsletter to get subscribers over time. And again, another way to like create content and put it out there. But again, I think that's going to take longer than 6 months. So essentially I've got the next 3 to figure out if I can stick with that track and start doing that consistently.
Well, it sounds like,
but
it sounds like you're trying to do, because I'm still not hearing anything cohesive, but that kind of, to me, is saying that maybe what you're really trying to do is find ways to have multiple income sources from various places kind of happening at the same time, all within things you're interested in. And if you try to do something like that, now you're looking at, okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean you're trying to do like a YouTube channel as well as a podcast, as well as a bunch of creative things? Maybe there's some sort of non-creative thing tied into that satisfies your other interests. But how do you feel about that? Like something that is, okay, well, maybe it's not one thing. Maybe it's, can you have multiple income sources coming in from somewhere?
Oh, right. Okay. I got a little sidetracked when we switched over here, but that was actually one thing I wanted to tug on was, is it cheating if I have multiple different kinds of income sources? There's a lot of sort of thinking these days around the idea of having like a portfolio career, essentially, or sorry, being a portfolio. The point being, I can't remember the exact term, but basically you diversify your skill set and you over time maintain a set of different skills that are in different domains, so that as work changes, as industries shift, as the needs of those industries change over time, you always have things that you can lean on to sustain yourself and continue to bring in funding. And so like that sort of approach is appealing, obviously, to someone that can't pick one particular thing and like put everything they've got into it.
It is,
By nature.
but I think the caveat to that is, do you have enough time and energy to devote the same amount of energy to the same amount of quality to every medium that you delve into? Because ultimately,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like if
Yeah.
I were to take 6 months and I'm like, I'm going to make 3 films in 6 months. Okay, I could do that, or I could take 6 months to work on one nice short film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think at some point, it depends on what you're trying to do, obviously, but at some point you have to choose what that is, and are you detracting from some of those things, and does that matter that those things are being detracted from?
Right.
Like when I say doesn't matter, is that something that you would not be satisfied with? And
Well,
or could you be taking it? Because here's the thing. Because we always talk about backup plans, and we talk about, well, theoretically, if you have a backup plan, you're not going to devote yourself as much as you could, because you can always go somewhere else. And the first thing we did tonight was talk about what you're going to do if you can't do this, and that's a backup plan. You know what I'm saying? So I think what you need to be thinking about is erase the whole concept of backup plan, because you're in whatever it is you're trying to do right now, and devote yourself completely towards whatever that means.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was getting at when I was like, choose one thing. Not when I say one thing, I don't mean like a specific skill set. I mean, well, what I mean is like a direction that's not the backup plan.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So here's what I think around that. There's a specific sort of like domain of interest that I have focused on, but that domain of interest crosses many different industries and types of work that could be done. So there's no need for me to do all of those different things. I can't do all of those different things. But it's just generally around this, these areas of interest of sort of storytelling and experience and world building for these kinds of contexts, whether that's through music or writing or the actual.
Because we're already sort of veering. But let me use let me use an analogy. So I love photography. I love to light stuff. I have an interest in sound. I like to lead people. I like to do all these things but as I was doing these, I like to make videos, right? As I was doing all of these specific
playing
things,
with miniatures,
building, whatever this is, not any one of those things satisfied me. So I said, what can I do? What is something that brings these together? And ultimately it's making fictional narrative films. Because I don't have to, I can if I want to jump into specific things, but ultimately it's about bringing sort of all of these things into one umbrella. And I feel like right now you're looking for your equivalent of making films.
The umbrella.
Unless it is making films. Maybe you make a film next time.
That's the thing, is like making films is like one way to reach a lot of those different boxes. And it's not an invalid way either. But I'm not specifically fascinated with films. I think that's kind of like that is this specific medium that you've really homed in on, and it's awesome because it does sort of address a lot of these different needs and areas. And it's not that it doesn't for me, but I have this weird lean towards this more kind of like technological medium and space of VR at this point and of immersive medium, because it just, I don't know. There are fundamental aspects that just feel really, tangible and interesting in the way that video games and interactive media always were. But it has many of the same sort of problems about storytelling and about building experience and about communicating to people what you want them to feel or what you want to try to get them to think about, and like the message that you want to get across.
Yeah.
Writing is another example where it's like you build a story. It serves a lot of these kinds of interests, but it's like it's a very specific thing. It's one area that is of interest. but it doesn't quite like capture everything. Like you know, there's no music in writing, but music is deeply interesting to me. So I don't think that's something I'll ever give up entirely. So I think I've been homing in on this kind of general content creation side of things. I think why the podcast, for instance, was really fulfilling in many ways, but ultimately itself not satisfying in and of itself, is that I was talking to a lot of different people about all these really interesting things that they'd done and thought about and been through and created, but we were not ourselves, Kelly and I were not actually diving in and trying to create things based off of what inspired us. And that was ultimately what I wanted to get to and what she is interested in as well. So that's why we've started working on this VR project. Now, for the next 6 months, the thing I'm still really struggling on, just homing in on, is I don't see a way that I can continue to chip away at doing more of that, spending more of my time of that over time. If you think about my timeline forward is 24 hours wide. So like if each day is a tick on this path, to the end of your life, and it's 24 hours, or maybe no, it's like 18, maybe 16, whatever your waking time. And that's what you've got to work with every day. And maybe at the beginning, some small portion of that, a fraction of that, is being contributed to what you really fundamentally find fulfilling and want to be doing. And over time, I don't think that this particular moment is just suddenly going to be, all right, now Jay is spending 100% of that 16 hours a day, dedicated to the passion projects. I can do that, but I'm going to have to, I'm probably going to run out of money in 6 months, because it's not enough time to like build a sustainable career off of that. I think I can start that process. I think I can like get started on that path forward, and at the end of it, come out of it spending a more significant amount of my time, like maybe half of my time, on those projects, and maybe in another year spending like 75% of my time, and the last little supplemental side projects are still kind of unrelated, but it's like that photography gig off to the side or whatever. So my question back would be, is that cheating?
So the sort of the freelance gig for like freelance filmmakers, it's a gig economy. It's whatever you can take, whatever comes up, you take it, because at the end of the day, you have to pay rent. But I think that there's something a little bit different about the industry that you have sort of a background in, where you don't necessarily have to do that, I guess. And you're not necessarily going to get extremely lowballed on your rates, trying to prove why your creative background and knowledge is worth getting paid for. I don't know.
I think it's different. You still deal with a lot of those fundamental problems that people don't want to pay you.
I'm sure, but at the end of the day, you still have to. Oh, we're talking about, is it cheating? Okay.
Yeah. Is it cheating to look at it that way and to accept that, or to accept that throughout that process, as your goal is to do more of what you love, that as you're getting to that end goal, you are still supplementing as needed in order to continue to move along? I mean, the past, that was doing a full-time job so I can do the stuff on the side.
No, I think it's realistic to supplement as you go. I think that even like people, it's a bad example because, it's a bad example because of what he's known for now. But Kevin Spacey, the renowned molester, at the peak of his career, he spoke openly about how when a gig wasn't coming up, he was terrified about what was happening next, because there was no work coming his way. So, and you see this with celebrities and famous people who are involved in film or acting or whatever the creative field is, whatever. So I think that there's a sort of illusion that somehow there comes a point where your creative endeavor should and ultimately will be the sole thing that you do with no worry. I think that there's
Right.
always worry, particularly in the creative field. There will always be worry, and I can only speak from the film side, but it's feast and famine.
Yeah.
You're going to have a ton of work, and it's going to be great, and you're making a lot of money, and then you have no work, and now you can't afford peanut butter. It's a back and forth. It's a pendulum, and so I start thinking about, for me, ultimately the only thing I'm interested in is making films, and I want to make films. And so for me, and that I can only use my experience to talk about your experience, but I'll supplement that with whatever I need. It doesn't matter
Right.
to me if I have to take some, dead end job somewhere, because ultimately I'm not that job. I'm someone that makes films, and that's who I am.
Right.
And that's what I do. I'm not, my identity is not locked into the job, whatever job I need to pay the bills. So I don't necessarily think it's cheating. I just think that, I don't think it's cheating. I think that, there's a certain, it takes courage to do what you're doing right now. And so I don't think it's cheating to supplement that.
Okay. I feel like it's the only sort of realistic way I can think about it right now.
Yeah.
Because
but I don't know. But at the same time, didn't you do this? At the same time,
I've done this many times before, but I feel like I get better at it each time, and I have gotten closer and more aligned with things each time.
At the same time, maybe just call it cheating and see. Like, I mean, if you have 6 months and it's the kind of thing where you can go back to something, that just go all into whatever it is. But the thing is, you have to decide what that thing is, because I still haven't heard that from you. I've heard I can do things. Okay, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, the I can do things answer is more around like, what skills do I have that can be sold?
Because this is no longer theoretical. The 6 months starts today.
Yeah.
You are now in that. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
This is no longer what will happen. It's, oh, tomorrow I need to figure something out. So
yeah.
That's why I keep bringing us back to, okay, that's great, all these ideas and theoretical things. What are you going to do tomorrow? Or what's your incremental goals? So like every week, what have you gone towards your thing? But I think right now, maybe spend, I don't know, just an arbitrary amount of time. How about maybe it's spend like 3 days. Spend 3 days figuring out what that thing is that you need to do for the next several months. And then once you develop that thing, maybe maybe I'm the person that holds you accountable, and you're like, and I'm like, you made no progress. Maybe I help hold you accountable or something. And we like continue to do these live streams of how far has Jay gotten?
I mean, I think that some external accountability is important, and probably the most prudent way for me to go about this, because otherwise, I don't know. I am not someone who just like does things in a basement by themselves. It's just never how I've been. I mean, I may you may deep focus on something for hours for several nights on things, but then you like want to show it to somebody and get their thoughts and reflect on it, and then twist it around and flip it around and see how many ways it can be changed up and improved. So I need external sort of perspective on things.
Well, yeah, and
throughout. Honest, so I think that would be good.
I'm really similar in my creative pursuits, only that I don't. Chelsea always sort of describes it as like, it's not that I don't need validation. I just need another human being to bounce an idea off of, so I can hear it bouncing off of them.
You need to like hear them rephrase it to you the way that they interpret it from you.
Yeah. It's a really inefficient way for my mind to work, but that's just how it works. It sounds like yours works like that too.
Well, that's why we go back and forth all the time.
Yeah, it's two people trying to just understand what we ourselves are trying to say in the first place. It's a really inefficient communication process.
So I think that like regularly checking in and sort of like doing status updates, I think that has worked really well in my experience with doing that with Kelly for the last 6 months. Speaking of which, We were doing that with the VR project. Before we ever brought a team on, we would meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings every week at like 6:30 in the morning. So we first thing get up, and then one of those days every week would probably just be like straight banter and catching up on things. But the other two out of three would usually be we actually get up and spend our first couple hours in the morning thinking about this project more and, you know, refining the idea down and bouncing things back and forth, exactly as you're talking about. That works really well for me. So like it's a good sort of formula, because if I do everything in a vacuum, it will inevitably fail. So that's a good like first step. So here's my thoughts right now. I've got the meetup going. The next things I can do with that is not just like a happy hour sort of, hey, you know, people that are interested in this like cognitive science space and whatnot, and like human experience, come together and talk about things, and it'll be like a casual happy hour. The next step is to keep doing those once a month, but also start reaching out to people that are doing interesting things in that space, or like doing research or whatnot, and see if I can get some people to actually agree to come on and do like a talk for 30 minutes to present maybe what they're doing, what they're building, what they're researching, or what they learned from something. And then the like last 30 minutes or so, hour, whatever, could just be, you know, Q&A, talking about that stuff, and, you know, more interactive. And that would create some focused content. And again, I'm kind of like hosting this and pushing this out online and starting to build up more.
So I'm still confused though, because
Yeah,
we've talked about different skill sets, but you keep coming back to content. And so maybe define, what does content mean? And why content? Why do you feel like it's content? And what is content, and why content?
I need to get better and more habitual about taking ideas or thoughts or things sort of thought up and actually turning them into something real, and putting them somewhere. And I don't have much motivation to just do that in a vacuum, because then what's the benefit? So instead, I feel like I need a place to put it where someone else can maybe find it and benefit from it. And it's a little bit of like external validation. Like I wouldn't want to work on this VR project if nobody else was ever going to experience it.
So I think I'm hearing a couple different things though. So
yeah,
I'm hearing, you know, you're interested in pursuing different different mediums to explore these creative endeavors. So within these mediums though, how is that going to pay your rent? Or are you looking for supplemental, you know what I'm saying? So like, because ultimately, yeah, that's great if you bring people on, talk and make a thing. How's that going to pay your bills?
So the meetup probably wouldn't. Even starting to do my own webcast series. So like maybe on YouTube, for instance, I start regularly doing episodes where I bring somebody different on, kind of like what we did for Reality Quest, but a little bit more focused on this sort of domain that I'm trying to go back to school for. And it serves a bunch of different purposes. One is to give me a reason to reach out and connect with people in that space. Another is that it allows me to actually have this sort of learning opportunity, and just build up more perspective and understanding of what's going on there. And then it. So the thing that what you, yeah. but I know you're coming back to like, how does that sort of, how do you make money with that?
Well, because ultimately what you've said is, if you can't, and what you've dictated yourself is, if you cannot pay rent with whatever this thing is that you're trying to do, then you'll go back to whatever it is, wherever it is you'll go back to it again. And I'd say, okay, well, that's an interesting approach. So, and these are creative avenues that you could have done while you had your other job as a hobby. And if you don't do these as a hobby, what has changed? When you mentioned YouTube, for example, unless
that'd be like a webcast.
So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's something like, unless you have like 1 million subscribers or more, you're not really making any money. It's
No.
like pennies. It's like pennies. So the way that YouTubers make money is they sell merchandise. So
Right.
when you're thinking about how are you bringing in funds, you also have to be thinking about, okay, I have an audience. I need to sell something to them, which means you now need to manage an entire adjacent business of buying stock, getting people to design things on stock, printing it on stock, and then selling it to them. So like this is
so merchandise is one. Merchandise is one avenue. And I'm basically thinking about all the things that we didn't do with the podcast the first time around, which is essentially marketed it aside from just posting on Twitter and Instagram, is actually looking for funding, looking for sponsors, creating merchandise. Those would be my first stops. My first stops would be to try to find sponsorship for these things. Like I was talking with my housemate about, like a company that has a BCI, for instance, that they're trying to, to get more visibility on. Like that would be one entity to approach. And essentially you have this pitch of, hey, I'm going to do this series on, on this particular domain, this particular like cognitive science stuff. And the thing that you're building is very relevant to the audience that I'm trying to reach. You all like, I will list you all essentially as sponsors, or like do a quick little bit for every episode about what you all are doing. And it will be the audience will be very receptive to this particular thing. So it's a way for you to reach out to more people. And like, that could be a way of getting a few sponsors to actually help with this. Again, I don't, this probably most likely would not be self-sustaining within 6 months. I think that's unrealistic, but I think that that I could at least get momentum going over the next 3 months.
So is that momentum towards a podcast? Is that momentum towards a YouTube channel? And here's a question too: you already have a year's worth of podcasts done. Why not use that and try to produce it and use that as a pitch to someone to a potential said vendor, but a potential party that might be interested in supporting that type of entity and gathering a budget to do kind of a larger thing that maybe it's not a budget that you make money from, but it's a budget to produce the podcast itself. But you already have an example of something of work that you've done. Why not take that and try to produce it, knock on some doors, and see if you can get some money behind it?
So the producing of that thing is like the value proposition essentially that I'm trying to sell. It's like I have an example of what I've done in the past, what I've created before and produced. I can produce something like this, but for you all, and like that's the service. That's what you're saying?
No. It's not something that you can. I don't think it's something you can look at as a service. In entertainment, how do you make money generally? It's through selling advertisement. I think you have to look at it more like that, because if you could offer a service, I guess, but you'd have to. I don't even know if that is a service. I don't think you can. Service like that doesn't.
Well, it is a thing. I don't know that I would really want to like go to companies and say, "Hey, I'll make your corporate branded podcast." That is something that you could sell. That is like a service thing that you could sell to companies. But
no. I think what I'm getting at is, were you to build a larger audience for that type of thing? Like, for example, what if you took those videos and you tried to produce them so that you had a larger audience itself? You can use that audience to then target advertising for, and that's how you generate something. But even if you don't do that, if you want to go the other direction is, okay, now you have to make a podcast and you have to go into all the time to produce it and secure where it goes and all this sort of stuff. So is that something you can do within 6 months? That's not something I have an answer for, but the question comes back to, how do you pay the bills?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think how I would pay the bills is either I do a variety, or not a variety, but I find some currently relevant piecemeal skills that I can actually sell. And and do those in order to allow myself to keep focusing on this main thing of the webcast. Perhaps that's the thing that is sort of the focus. Everything else is just serving, trying to keep me going on that, and building up more momentum on that.
Is it a webcast you're interested in? Because it seems like you do keep coming back to content. There's something about you seem to be interested in creating something for someone to view and consume. Is that am I in the right area?
No, I think that is kind of what I am homing in on, because I think it just makes the most sense from where I'm going. If I'm going back to school eventually for this, the most fulfilling part of that whole venture with the podcast was learning from all these different people, and kind of, absorbing from the general sort of connections that we made. So I would like to do more of that, but more focused in this direction.
What if it was like a web series where instead of having a podcast where you're interviewing people and bringing these sort of folks on that you want to kind of highlight and talk about their sort of places in their independent industries, it's Jay, the personality that is going in with Kelly on camera or something. You know what I'm saying? Like what if it's a web series and it's like, hey, so today we're interviewing this company. Let's go check it out. And we go and you go and doing this thing. But that, that takes time to build up. But that feels interesting to me. That is something that feels like, I don't know, that feels interesting. That feels like something I might watch, actually. Let's go learn about tech companies. Tech's big. Let's go learn about tech companies.
I mean, I don't know that I would want to make that about tech companies in particular, but so what you're talking about is like a little bit more, I mean, it's more like actually produced content, not just
it could be, it depends on what your aesthetic is that you're interested in. Like it could purposely be something that's as like a rough aesthetic that sort of emphasizes its that emphasizes amateur qualities about it. It doesn't necessarily have to have like a talented cinematographer behind you, like a producer that's kind of helping secure everything or whatever. It could just be you and Kelly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, as far as Kelly goes, I mean, I don't think
whoever,
that
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or it could be you, I guess. I'm just throwing out an idea. That's all. So like something to get behind, because maybe it's okay, but maybe you don't like that. So let's bring it back. I feel like I'm consulting you now. Let's bring it back. Like I'm Mr. Plastic Consulter, apparently.
Plastic House Consultant.
Like, okay, you should be doing this now.
You need a green screen, like a live cam. You should set up a webcam that is aimed close up at your plastic house. And then you have the green screen behind you with another camera, and then in real time, superimpose yourself over this house.
So like you're right here.
Then
like I'd have to have.
Oh yeah, so you just create a mini forest in a plastic house, and that's your consulting.
Maybe
Dr. Animus.
Doctor. I need to. We need to do that we need to do that again. But maybe you don't have to have the answer right now. Maybe this is something you just need to take a couple days to sort of think about in a way that you haven't necessarily had the energy to think about. So I think what the benefit of this is just getting your brain to turn in these directions of, okay, whatever happens, I'm the only person that can make it happen now. Whatever it is, if it's a machine, if it's an entity, whatever, it's up to you to figure this out. And so I think that this conversation is good, because it's just kind of forcing you to think about things. You already know these things, but it's just kind of reinforcing.
Yeah, but knowing them does not mean that they're like actively on the top of mind right now. You forget about this stuff really easily. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've got a clear sort of conclusion today, but this is definitely like putting pressure on me to actually focus in and
How are you gonna make money? How are you gonna make money? How are you gonna make how are you gonna make money? How are you gonna make money? 6 figures to 6 pence in 3 months.
Yeah, it's the main things the things that I do.
Consulting
Here's what here's what we do know.
Consulting to construction in 6 months.
Oh God, to contracting. Yeah, no. Here's what we do know, which is not very much. I need to leave. Like, I want to go overseas and live somewhere else for a while. So, like, whatever I'm doing, that's going to be part of the equation.
That sounds like a distractor at this point. That sounds like something.
A distract? No, because look,
none of the conversation we had tied in a random country overseas to do business in. All of the conversation we had, that sounds like Jake kind of just wants to go overseas. That doesn't sound like something that you want to commit to as far as like building whatever it is, the platform of the entity.
That I know it doesn't. That doesn't have to do with the building of the platform. I'm just saying these are like the near term. These are the things that I know about near term plans. I'm figuring out a way to go overseas and setting up, getting back into a 4-year degree program, and then whatever comes after that. So like that's not a cover for needing to actually do something that's going to make money going forward. That's just that is what I know right now, day one of having started this week without a job, and last week I had one after intentionally leaving.
Or maybe it's not about making money. Maybe it's I once had an English professor or a literature professor who spent like 10 years saving up just enough money to go live in like a random country for like 3 months at a time, and then he would leave. He'd work at like some random business, just some whatever job. He'd work there for like 6 months, save up X amount of money, and then he'd go overseas, live for like another 6 months, and then he'd just come back and repeat. He did that for like 10 years. So maybe what if it's not even about making money? What if it's about this whole other journey that you're trying to do?
I mean, it kind of is, and that might be part of why I'm having a hard time picking like a separate thing that is the focus. Mr. Sorry, so did you just see Mr. Pat looks like an Ed Snowden doppelganger?
you know what? I shit you not, Avum. I shit you not. So I was once in an airport. And literally someone comes up to me and they go, "Snowden, I love what you've been doing, man. Holy shit." And I look at him, I was like, "No, I'm not Snowden. And he goes, "No, we'll keep it on the down low. Okay. And
he's yelling to you in the airport.
I was in the airport. I was in a Barcelona airport, and he literally starts clapping. And it's like, "What?" And I was like, "Dude, what the fuck?" Like that has legit happened to me before. So.
Oh wow. I don't know if Snowden is he like 6 foot tall? I feel like he's shorter than that.
I don't know. I typically see him in a chair when he like is streaming or on YouTube or whatever.
He's usually sitting down. He looks a little bit thinner and just like skinny in general, like not in the healthiest way.
We're not talking about Snowden. We're talking about you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help. I'm going to help you help yourself by forcing
help yourself, help everyone. What?
Oh, do they know, whoever, if anyone's even watching, do they even know what this whole thing's about? Jay, maybe.
I mean, the title is "I left my job, now what?" So like that's the context.
You no, it needs to be like 6. I swear, dude, it needs to be like 6 figures to 6 pence, because it was a 6-figure position, and so it needs to be like something catchy like that. And you need to make a whole web series like that revolves around that whole thing, your whole journey. And
well, I really like
have to become like a pig farmer or something like that. I really want you to become like
hey,
I left my job and now I sell pigs. I don't know.
Like I left my job because it didn't feel fulfilling, but I didn't actually know what I wanted to do instead. So
Turns out I wanted swine.
watch,
Swine, more
watch as I
swine.
turn into a cobbler over the next 6 months.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, I mean, that is like fundamentally why I needed to leave, is because I couldn't. I've had a hard time sort of seeing outside of that world and ahead, when I've been stuck in that corporate environment. And there's just like all of the energy and everything going into that job and that role.
Oh wait,
was just taking.
Avum says that Snowden is short, so we have a confirmation.
Just to
I just had to say that Avum is no, not Avum. I don't know how short Avum is, but Snowden.
It's more like Avum.
Avum, yeah.
Yeah.
Snowden short.
Yeah, so I really like the idea of doing like a daily sort of journal entry thing, if for no other reason than that it's a good incentive for me to just record sort of like where my head's at on a regular basis. And I don't think I would actually commit to like every day. I'd think like Monday through Friday, because life. Oh, it looks like it's just AVM. AVM.
Yeah, see, I was right.
AVM. Oh, okay.
AVM. Oh, maybe I wasn't AVM. Okay.
Like the initials, AVM. Okay. Yeah, I think because that gives me a good incentive to just make sure that I'm checking in with myself every day. Because the whole point here is leave your job to actually go and do something that is much more fulfilling in the long term. So if I'm not checking myself on that, it will probably fail.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Edit.
That is
shit. Edit. Fuck.
Okay.
I can't. I won't be able to. Can you spell it phonetically by any chance? Just like
that. That's going to be a long like phone. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That I don't want to butcher it, so I will not try. Yeah. I think the main thing is going back to school is the long term. Like that's the priority.
But okay. I mean, that could be a priority, but part of because what I start thinking about is sort of logistics, right? So
yeah,
if school is the priority, the logistics of that include when are the deadlines to apply to the schools you're interested in. And for example, a lot of schools in the US anyway, unless it's like a rolling admissions basis, those are already passed. So that those sort of logistics kind of come into play there. So and again, your clock's already started. So
yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just like poking you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, Jay. I'm just trying.
You're not making me feel
the hard question.
Throw in the hard balls. No, it's not making me feel bad. It's like it's a good sort. This is why I wanted to have this conversation, is because it is a good sort of like figure the fuck out. Like know what you're doing. Which I can be. I like help other people figure out what the hell they're doing, but I often get stuck with it for myself.
Well, I think that's like one of the big ironies, it's like when I'm working on one of my films or whatever, like I get stuck in these just insane loops of I don't know what to do next with this thing. But when I talk to my friend about his film that he's working on, I can immediately see, oh, well,
all the problems,
these things, and vice versa. So there's some sort of like mental blockage that at least I have, and it seems you and a lot of people have, about there's something about like our own experiences. It's almost like we have like a certain ideal that we're trying to interact or enact in some way that we can't, but like the path to that ideal is blocked somehow, but I can't articulate it, but but I think it's something that a lot of us feel.
You have like principles and beliefs about things, and it's easier to apply those to others and to things on the outside rather than to like step back and look at yourself as clearly as you see other people.
But I think that's it though. It's something about like it's like a failure to either see or acknowledge like what is objectively true in whatever project or whatever it is you're working on. Like what is objectively true about this? Like what are the facts that I'm working with? and
Yeah.
I think somehow those get diluted by what we bring to those experiences and those facts. So like your past life experience, your past work experience, your relationship experience,
your emotional frame of mind right
all
now.
of these sort of things kind of intersect with they kind of intersect with what's objectively true about kind of the puzzle pieces of your life that you're working with, and it kind of puts up a veil that somehow you can't see past, but others can. They're not. I'm not distracted right now by the things that you're bringing to this journey. I only see a journey that is happening with somebody,
and a bunch of really obvious obstacles that are in the way that like, this other person can't seem to figure out. Like, no, these are all the clear problems that you're running into. Yeah. I need to spend the next few days, basically like the rest of this week, just hashing this out on a regular basis. And really starting to home in on that. I don't have the answer right now.
Yeah, I'm not. And
I presume even when I do start to feel like I have an answer, it will slowly sort of develop and morph over time. But I need like a direction, as you said. I need a direction to start going. It can't be let me just start going all directions at once.
Yeah, I mean you could do that, but I think unless that's a choice, like I don't know, I would use like, is that your artistic choice? Unless that's your choice, then it sounds like a distraction to me. So, you know what I mean?
Sorry. Okay, so name.
See, I told you that you should
Aditya.
introduce it. That's a very good point.
Tell me. So, let me know if I'm saying this correctly. Is Aditya, or Aditya?
There's a second half though.
Aditya Vardun.
Vardun.
Aditya Vardun.
Are you just imagining what the accent on that sounds like? Are you just?
I'm trying
accent onto that.
Yeah. So either way, awaiting a response there on the correctness or how badly that was butchered. So what we're talking about is this past Friday, I just left a 6-figure job that I've had for the last year and a half ish. And the past like 4 years, I've been working in this tech hub, trying to figure things out. And this kind of was the sort of culminating stable job. Okay, just call him AVM. We'll do that. There are other things that I've known that I'm deeply interested in, really want to focus more time on. I'm not getting any younger. So just really feeling that the pandemic, I think, just gave everybody a lot more time to introspect and look at, where you're at in life and what you're doing. So that's been the past year of just kind of growing more and more dissatisfied with that and feeling like I'm too comfortable in this kind of safety net nest that I had built. So I left that on Friday, and today, Monday, is kind of like the first day of that job is gone, that safety net is gone. And now I would like to start trying to think clearly about what the next steps are. And part of that is going back to school. Part of that is changing up my location. But a big necessary chunk there is figuring out how the fuck to support myself and still keep on heading in the right direction from like an interests perspective. And Mr. Pats is trying to help me get out of a spaghetti tangle of brain.
Jay was returning home. Jay was returning home after he just quit his job, and he found me on the street, kind of whittling down an old flute that I found at a Goodwill shop. And he was like, "Hey, Mr. Pats, I need to talk to you for a second."
Dr. Pats, I need your help.
I'm a Mr. Doctor, but today I'm a
Oh, that sounds like a good, that'd be an interesting YouTube series. The mad
sketch for like a good scene. That sounds fun. Yeah.
An imaginary doctor tries to help out random people on things that you have no idea about.
That sounds really funny. I'd watch that. That sounds great.
Yeah. Anywho.
I hope we haven't talked, Jay. I hope we haven't just like, I don't feel like we've gone in a circle. I feel like this is,
no.
Well, I mean, I'm not the one who's doing the best.
Do I feel like this is going in a circle?
Well, how do you feel about this? And maybe we can do if maybe I don't know. Like you mentioned, maybe if you want to take a couple days to think about the direction you want to go, we could come back and just kind of touch base and see. And I can smash down your bricks that you're laying into whatever mental blocks you're creating for yourself.
My house of lies and falsehoods to myself.
I can destroy those.
I'll knock down your Lego tower willingly. Yeah, I think that's a good plan, and we should do that. So like later this week, I don't know what your situation's looking like, and it's like 12:30 there right now, but
oh yeah, it is.
Oh
no,
so,
anytime this week's good. I don't need to start editing GoGo until I can't get into the so I'm editing it by hand, so that's gonna be interesting.
For which film is this?
GoGo 274. So I'll be
okay. Gotcha.
I'll be editing it by hand, like since we shot it on film. So I don't start editing that until next week. So I have all this week free. If you want to have another chat, that'd be fine with me.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm a last year student at school. I'll be having.
Yeah, I was gonna say ABM was saying.
I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's. Yeah. That's we've all been there. That's a
yeah.
Tough place to be. That's a tough place to be. Jay was there. Jay left there, and he's coming right back there. So
yep.
So I guess
what was that?
No, I was just gonna say it sounds like that this is the wrong room for answers. If you're because actually, I'm doing something similar to Jay, and I'm.
I was going to say you're like in a very similar situation right now.
Stop it! They don't know my real name. I'm just Mr. Pets to them. I had I had been so Jay and I have known each other for like 15 years or something like that, and we were both in the military. I was an actor, and then I ended up joining the military. I did that for like 6 years or whatever, and after a while, I was like, this isn't kind of for me. So I'm currently finishing up school, studying film, and so I'm also kind of going off into my own journey here soon. So all three of us are actually going
at a very huge transition point
in the middle of a pandemic. So it's a good
yeah. Yeah, I don't know yet if I chose the right timing or not. I guess it depends on how much longer this all.
Here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. Like you already sort of summarized it. Like there is no right timing. I watched this really interesting video that kind of quantified the weeks of our lives into marbles, and just had this vat of marbles, and it was just like. And it was like removing them and
you take one out every week.
Yeah, like you could sort of visualize literally how much time you have, and it's just like, fuck. So I don't know. I'm not.
That's a cause for anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there is. Whoa, Snowden. I just saw Mr. Katz and I was like, whoa, Snowden. So I came here. I'll be applying for Indian Air Force.
Indian Air Force. Hey, there you go.
I was in the American Air Force. So the Air Forces. I don't know what the Indian Air Force is like, but the Air Forces in general are a Air Forcey place to be, I guess. So.
Yeah, I don't know that there's not really a right time to transition. I think that's kind of the conclusion I came to. It was coming up into the holidays, and it just reached a pivotal point at work where I was like, if I continue to invest my time into this right now, I'm going to start just like, I'm not going to be doing my best in that situation. So it's time to step back from that and like give myself the space to deal with the next thing, like, and figure out the next thing. Yeah, I've always found it hard to do that when I'm like in the middle of a full-time sort of focused job like that. I know people always say that it's easier to look for a job when you already have a job, or it's easier to like get one when you already have one. Which like I've done that before, but also I don't know. Sometimes it's just not worth.
But that's not.
freaking-
But it doesn't. But that's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to get a
Yeah.
job. You're trying to
Right.
sort of make your own, and I think that there's a big difference there. Like there's an entrepreneurial mindset, I guess, in a way, but well, sort of like an entrepreneurial mindset would be more like you're trying to create an infrastructure to sell some sort of product to a client. I
Yeah.
think.
You're trying to build a business model around a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it
service or
doesn't
whatever.
sound like that's not necessarily what you're trying to do, but again, like I think you should take a couple days, think about it, and let's
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think in some level there needs to be some at least minimum capacity of thinking from an entrepreneurial perspective, because if you're going to sustain yourself outside of a company, like I have to figure out how to make money enough to sustain myself. So like, if anything, I am the business that needs to be formed and thought out before I can really keep going forward. Otherwise, I've got to work for somebody else's business. And the goal is to not do that anymore. So, yeah. But yeah, it's late. I think we can probably.
I don't know where you are right now, ABM, but it's almost 1 a.m. my time, so I'm gonna head out.
East Coast of the United States.
East Coast, US.
I'm on the west.
Yeah.
So 3 hours apart.
I'm gonna head out. Jay, it was wonderful talking to you, and let's touch base again. Let's see where the journey of Jay. I left my job now. What, dude? You gotta make a web series about this. Just like log what you have to say. I think it might.
That's the thing. I may not know exactly what this is all going to look like in the end,
11
but
a.m.
I can start now.
Oh, it's like a.
Oh, that's like
Okay. Yeah.
like coming up on lunch, like right in the middle of the day.
Nice.
Bye, Mr. Pat. Oh, thanks for hanging out, ABM. All right.
All right. Bye, Jay.
See you
Bye,
later.
ABM. Bye. If there's any other mystery people watching, bye to them as well. All right. Peace.